Good morning, everyone. My name is Stuart Hickey. I'm one of the managers here in certification. I'd like to welcome you all to what is NSAI's first on-site event for clients, would you believe, since March 2020. We've been doing a bit online, but this is our first unmuted, yes. Our first on-site event. I'd like to congratulate you all, or several of you, for successfully attaining certification to 27001. And also I'd like to congratulate those who have decided to pursue certification to 27001 as well. Dennis Ryan is my colleague here. Some of you know him very well. He'll be taking over in a short while, but first I thought I'd give you some highlights as to what NSAI is doing in terms of development work. We have Jennifer Finn here on the right-hand side, on my right, who is taking photographs just to put it on people's radar. We're putting up some photos on social media after this as well. So as part of NSAI's new strategy, we've started developing a series of support tools to put small businesses on a trajectory to certification. This is one linked specifically to the information security management space. And basically, Dennis will probably speak to this in a short while again, but it provides a series of questions, inputs, yes, no answers. It gives you a score at the end, and it allows you to sort of gauge your readiness for the 27001 stage 1 audit. So then we will be, I suppose, launching more streamlined tools later on in 2023. And these will be, I suppose, for small businesses that haven't the same level probably as engagement as you've had with the 27001 standard to date. There's been a lot of development work in NSAI over the last 2 years. The EU Cybersecurity Act, probably several of you are very well aware of what the Act is all about and entails. For those of you that aren't aware, it's basically, it came into force in 2019, and it points to an evolving framework of cybersecurity certifications. Some of these will be voluntary in nature, and some, depending on the product or service that you're working with, will be self-assessment, but some will require third-party certification. So NSAI was, I suppose, approached by the Department of Communications 2 years ago now, and asked about our involvement in this space, and we have put our foot forward in respect of, we're going to be a designated certification body under the EU Cybersecurity Act for Ireland into the future. So as in, I suppose we've done extensive development work in terms of upgearing our capabilities to offer this service, and specifically we've been focusing on the EU cloud scheme. So we're involved in a number of EU projects, and anyone who would like to learn more about the projects or even participate in some into the future, make sure and leave your details with us. And for those of you that actually would just like to learn more, leave your details with us as well, and we can ensure that you get the learnings from this research that will sort of is a precursor to the standards and schemes coming online. This is a bit of a segue now away from information security management systems. This is certification for innovation management professionals, and we're about to launch this service in the coming months. This is linked with our ISO 56000 series, which is our innovation management standard. And it's operationally ready to launch. We have some, I suppose, contract issues to get over in the coming month. And basically, certification involves an application, your CV, a case study, an online exam, and an interview. And this is certification now of people. It's not a certification of management systems. But I have a short video here that I can show you, and it'll give you more of an insight about the scheme. Okay, so you'll see more of that probably on the social media channels if you follow us in the coming months. We are a certification body, as you all know. We're also Ireland's national standards body. So we have a whole section of the organisation here responsible for developing national and international standards, and we plug into the European and international standardisation systems. We have a couple of ways that we can access and purchase the standards. Option one, we can purchase them through our web store. As part of, I spoke to a colleague from our parent department earlier, Department of Enterprise, Trade and Employment, supporting the Department of Enterprise, Trade and Employment, NSAI. Will participate in a series of roadshows over the coming year, and there'll be one in Dublin, I think, towards the end of the year. As part of this series of events, we're promoting our standards, and we're actually giving a discount. So from the 3rd of March to the 10th of March, if you use the discount code BBB23, it'll get you a 10% discount on all of our standards. In respect of option two, there's also access to our online cloud. It's our I2I platform where you can centralize your document management, enhance virtual collaboration, control costs, and maintain compliance. It says here that's another potential option where you can get access to standards that are appropriate to your business. So that's me finished. I'm not going to take any questions. I'll leave them to the end, but I'll hand you over to my colleague here, Dennis Ryan, who's going to tell us all about the new version of 27001 and tips on how you can make the transition.
Thank you very much, Stuart. Good morning, everybody. You're all very welcome. I work in the cybersecurity team here at NSAI, and as some of you know, I also work on the certification teams as well as certifying companies to ISO 27001 and other standards. The agenda for this morning is we're going to do a quick introduction. Again, what's new in ISO 27001 2022. We're going to go through the Annex A controls, specifically the new controls, what has changed and what we expect to see in your system. A quick overview of that. And our transition policy for clients that are currently registered. So how we're going to transition you up to the new version of the standard and the timeframes associated with that transition. Some additional information, and we have questions and answers. I'm sure you'll have loads of questions at the end. This is the standard. It was published in end of October 2022, ISO IEC 27001. We will be accepting new registrations to the ISO 27001 2022. And there's a 3-year transition period associated with this, which goes up to 2025. You will only be able to apply for that November 2023. If you want to be registered to 27001, we won't be accepting new applications for the old version of standard only up until that date. So after November 2023, we won't be accepting applications for 27001 2017. What's new in 27001? We have a new title. We had the confusion of ISE and ISO 27001 2017. It's now ISO IEC 27001 2022. There is a new title, and it's called information. This is what you will get on your certificates. In the top column of the certificates: information security, cybersecurity, and privacy protection, which better describes the standard. It's not yet released as an Irish standard. It will be released probably this year sometime. So we may come up with ISE and ISO 27001 2023 when it becomes the Irish standard, just to add a little bit more confusion to you in the system. In the old version of standard, we had 7 clauses. The good news is in the new version, there are still 7 clauses. The even better news is there is not any major significant changes that you would have to do to your system based on the 7 main requirements of the ISO 27001. They have simplified the wording, but there is nothing consequential in there that will cause you to change any of your system. The context will still be the same, interested parties will still be the same. The leadership roles and commitments, we expect you to define what the roles are: management commitment. Planning, you still have to do the risk assessment, risk treatment planning, information security objectives. They all remain and they all stay, but there's been no changes. So you need to keep that system in place, as well with the support, the resources. Awareness is still there. Document control is still there, and operations, for example, you still have to do your management reviews, you still have to do your internal audits, you still have to have corrective actions and non-conformances and all that good stuff. So there's no change in the main body of the standard, and that's probably the good news there. They've improved the wording, but make no significant change that should impact on your system. In the old version, you're familiar with, in Annex A, there was 114 controls that you needed to implement and justify if you needed to exclude them. And there was 14 control categories that you're all reasonably familiar with. In the Annex A, they have reduced it to 93 controls. Now, they haven't lost any of the 114 controls, so there is additional controls. So it looks as if there's less controls, but it's actually not, because they have merged 24 of them. So in some cases where you saw old controls in the Annex A, they put 2 or 3 of them together and made them into one control by improving the wording in the standard. And there's 58 updated controls. Now I'm not going to go through the updated ones because the wording doesn't make any significant change. They just improved the wording on them and made them read better. There are 4 main control categories. You'd have been used to 14 control categories. It's now simplified in that there is 4 main control categories. Those control categories are as follows: organizational controls, which again is the leadership controls, and all of those areas. People controls, the ones you're used to in the old HR section, joiners and leavers process, awareness training, all of those areas. Then we have a number of controls centered on the physical controls, how you control access to your buildings, destruction of equipment, or getting rid of old secure destruction of equipment and media, and on all of those controls. And then you have the technological controls are all contained in section 8 of the standard. I'll go through those in detail and explain to you what the different controls are within those main areas. But the main point to capture here is that there is 4 main sections in the new Annex A: organizational, people, physical, and technological controls. Okay, let's go to the A5, the organizational controls. There are 37 of these, 22 of them on your yellow chart there. You can see 22 of them have been updated and 12 of them merged from the old Annex A controls, and we have 3 new controls. I'm not going to go through the updated ones. I'll just give you a summary on the merged ones. So the new controls are threat intelligence, information security for use of cloud services, and ICT readiness for business continuity. First one, A5.7, threat intelligence. This wording is taken straight from the standard. Information relating to information security threats shall be collected and analysed to produce threat intelligence. The purpose of this control is to provide awareness of the organizational threats environment, and so that you can determine what mitigation factors you need to address in your system to address those threats. To help you address these, I have decided there's 3 layers of threat intelligence. You have a strategic layer, and that's high-level threat intelligence, and that's the type of attackers and the types of attack. Tactical, that's usually detailed in your system, what the attack methodologies that these threat actors will use, the tools and the techniques. And operational level will give you details about specific attacks and technical indicators of those attacks. So you should address it in that format. You should be getting threat intelligence from advisors, consultants, government agencies, National Cybersecurity Centre, people that supply you with threat intelligence tools or whatever. So it's up to you to decide how you're going to collect that threat intelligence, analyze the threat intelligence. You may have to input it into your risk assessment process. You may have to input it into your firewalls, your intrusion detection systems, and your security test process. If you're developing software, you should be using this threat intelligence as a thread of information going into your development process, so that people are testing the software before they release it to their clients out to the marketplaces. And also the threat intelligence, it should input into your training methodology, so that you're making appropriate interested parties aware of what your threat intelligence is telling you, where the threats are coming from, so that people in the organization know about upcoming threats, and there's an awareness thread going through your organization on what those current threats are. The next one is A523, information security for use of cloud services. The control states processes for acquisition, use, management, and this is a new line here: exit from cloud services shall be established in accordance with the organization information security requirements. The purpose of this control is to specify and manage information security for use of cloud services. Our expectation here is that you would have a policy in place, a topic-specific policy for use of cloud services, and that's available to interested parties in your organization. Typically, it's the roles and responsibilities for the use of the cloud services should be in that policy. How you select new cloud services, what criteria you use, contracts, what's managed by the cloud service, what controls are managed by your organization, and what security controls are managed by the cloud service. So there should be a clear demarcation between what those the policy should indicate what controls you reserved in house and what controls are kept by the cloud service. And also, I suppose the important point here is if you are using multiple cloud services, some organizations will have multiple cloud service providers. So where's the responsibility? How do you control those responsibilities? Again, we've mentioned the exit strategy. You got into the service with them. They've probably we understand that you can't, that for some organizations they give you a contract and you either take it or leave it. We understand that that's the case with most cloud service providers. You take it and you've no choice. But you probably need to know how if there are information security events, you need to know what their responsibility is and what your responsibility is for handling those information security events. If you're changing service provider, have you planned ahead for that? It's very easy to get into a cloud service provider. It often can be very difficult to get out of it. And have you planned for if you want to change it to somebody else, how are you going to do that? I suppose you need to also have this in your risk assessment process. What are the risks with engaging with the cloud provider, and managing the access controls, and what support are those cloud service providers giving to you in the case of an information security event. And also, I suppose, is it in the contract that if there is a breach at the cloud service provider, will they tell you that there is a breach? Hopefully they will, but you need to verify that it is in your contract that if your trusted identifiable information is breached by the cloud service provider, will they tell you about it? Because at the end of the day, it's your responsibility. If there is a problem on the legality, it's still your responsibility because they are your records. And also, I suppose, in a lot of cloud service providers, they may, depending on how big they are, they may subcontract that service to a bigger cloud service provider. So you need to be careful in that instance that, if they are subcontracting the cloud service they give you, do you know about it? Do you know where the records are held? Are they held in the territory, in the EU? And are you aware of the risks associated with them using a subcontract cloud service provider? There's also a number of standards, I suppose, ISO 27, just to let you know, if you want to buy more standards, there's ISO 27018, which is guidance for the control of personally identifiable information in cloud services. So that's available from us as well if you're struggling with that. ISO 27018, PII protection in the cloud. We have a list for you at the end of other standards which support the ISO 27001. There's about a total of about 90 to 100 standards. Guidance, if you want some a lot of reading at night time, these will give you lots of guidance and what you could do. But they are useful in an extent if you want to structure your policies and procedures. These give you ideas on how to structure your policies and procedures. The next one we have here is A530, ICT readiness for business continuity. This is quite similar to your old A17, but it is a new wording, new requirement that the team who wrote the standard have said this is new. So is your ICT and the standard, the control reads, readiness shall be planned, implemented, maintained, and tested based on business continuity objectives and ICT continuity requirements. So slight nuanced differences in this requirement. Our expectation is that you will have done a business impact assessment. You will assign recovery time objectives appropriate. The plans will ingest performance and capacity specifications to meet objectives and the recovery time objective for each prioritized ICT service. So the expectation is that you will prioritize your ICT services. Which ones do you want to recover first? In what sequence will you want to recover them? And what recovery time objective is against those ICT services? As an employee, I would like to see the payroll systems up number one, but it's up to you as an organization to decide which are your priority ICT systems. This is just a summary of the merged controls. I'm not going into them in detail. There are 12 merged controls. A51, the policies and the review of policies, they've combined 2 of these into one. Information security and project management is just one control based on that. So if you're managing big projects, again, on the old system, we had it in one. If you're managing design and software development, we expected to see project management in that. And there was a control specifically based for project management. So they just combined those two into one project management control. So that if you're managing projects, you should be controlling the security particular to that project. Some of your clients will be very interested in what are you allowing access to their project folders within your organization? Who else? Because they know that you probably will be dealing with our competitors as well. So they need to be sure that you are, the level of security in your organization appropriate, depending on what is controlled in your project folders and what is specific to that project. So they may vary depending on the project that you're dealing with. Inventory of information other assets, that's your whole, they've combined that. 2 of those. A8 is your asset registers for hardware, software, knowledge, all of those areas. And accepted use of information and associated assets. Those controls haven't gone, they've just recoded them and put them into one control. Information transfer, A514, combination of 3 old controls into that. A15, access control is still there. 2 controls combined. A517, they've put a new title in it, authentication information, is typical password controls, fobs, how you authenticate people in the system if you're using biometrics or password access or fobs, or that. So that was 3 old controls on that. And access rights, 3 old controls combined into one. They just improved the wording and put them all into one control. So what you need to do is, you need to update your statement of applicability and put in a 518 will be in your statement of applicability. And maybe if you've already pointed us to that in the old control, just point us again to where these new controls are. Some of you will have, a lot of these would have been addressed with one policy previously, so hopefully it's reducing the workload and reducing the duplication of having to answer an auditor. We might have looked at this in an earlier control, and this is trying to avoid that. Just more merged controls, monitoring, review and change management of supplier services, A15, A15.2, information security during disruption is the old A17 now combined into one control. A531 legal, statutory, regulatory and contractual agreements, your legal register, your compliance with contracts, they're all in one control now. And A536, compliance with policies, rules and standards for information security, how you know that you're complying with policies, rules and standards, and update of those. It's just one control where there was 2. People controls, A6, there are 8 controls applicable in this area. There is just one merged control, and this was in the incident management procedure. A68 is a new wording on it. Information security event reporting, so that that's where these people in your organization that you're facilitating them reporting events in your system. So a specific control, it was there already in A16. They've just moved it across now to put more of the focus on the people in the organization. That it's up to your employees or the people in the organization to how they report potential security events that may become a full-blown security event. Okay, so 7 updated, 1 merged, and no new. It's just a matter of rearranging them and reading through the wording and making sure you understand. A7 physical controls, and 1 new control. 11 of them were updated again on the wording as updated and improved, and 2 of them were merged. So it's access to comms rooms, access to your building, typical access in those areas. The new control is A7.4, physical security monitoring, and the control states that premises shall be continuously monitored for unauthorized physical access. So we've no choice in that matter. The word is shall. So the author will be going to say, how do you monitor physical access to your buildings or to your commons rooms? And it could be CCTV, it could be your fob access, maintenance of those logs. So an expectation that it's continuously monitored. Two merge controls, A72 physical entry, they've merged the old A16, two controls there, and storage media, A8, A83, so four controls merged into one there. So I suppose it's destruction of that media. Is it encrypted? All of those controls that are currently should be addressed in your system merged into one control. So, flying through this A8 technological controls, there are 34 controls in this section of the standard. 18 of them have been updated, 7 new ones, and 9 merges. The new controls are configuration management, information deletion, data masking, data leakage prevention, monitoring activities, web filtering, and secure coding. Some of you will already have addressed these in your system, but these are new aspects, and they've brought it out more in the standard and explained it more as a definite requirement in the standard. So you'll say to me, some of these are not new, Dennis. You've already been looking for some of these, but they've now put it explicitly into the standard. The first one, A89, configuration management. The control states configuration, including security, configurations of hardware, software, services, and networks shall be established. Again, the word documented, so we need to see it documented, implemented, monitored, and viewed. And I suppose the focus here is on the word established, documented, implemented, monitored, and reviewed. And it's applicable to hardware, software, services, and network. So the expectation is we'll have a configuration management policy. How you will address this for hardware. If you have a lot of SCADA controls in your system, how that is addressed. Software, you may have tools in use in software that address the configuration management. We'll be looking for evidence that those tools are in use and how they are applied to your software control, especially at deployment stages or development stages in those areas. Services as well, configuration management of services and of your networks as appropriate to your organization. A10, a new one again, information deletion. Information stored in information system devices or in any other storage media shall be deleted when no longer required. Okay, the expectation is you will select a deletion method. How do you know all of these records are deleted? It's probably in line with your records control policy. If you say you only keep these records or for example, interview records, you keep them for 12 months, have we evidence that they're deleted? And we'll be looking for evidence of deletion. And so the important one here is third-party deletion on termination of services. So for example, if you have terminated, for example, a payroll service with a company, how are you confident that they have deleted all of the applicable records, especially the PI, personally identifiable records? How do you know that your suppliers and subcontractors have deleted those records? So we'll be expecting maybe to see it in the contract or the SLAs you have in place with those. So you decide how you do it. We will be looking for evidence that these are deleted, especially on the termination of a contract with a third-party supplier. Again, I have a reference there at the end, ISO 27555, and that addresses deletion of personally identifiable information and there's also 27017 cloud services guidelines. I suppose again, this is back to the exit from cloud services, that they have deleted all of your records that you have up on their cloud if you're changing your cloud service provider. And that, I suppose at the end of the day, it's back to the thing that you're still responsible for deletion of personally identifiable information. A811, data masking. Control indicates data masking shall be used, so no choice, in accordance with the organization's topic-specific policy. So we expect to see a policy focused on data masking. It may be, you may just have to upgrade one of your existing policies and add in a section on data masking. But there is a requirement to have a topic-specific policy and other related topic-specific policies and business requirements, taking applicable legislation into consideration. I suppose this is particularly important in the healthcare industry. You don't, I suppose, if you might want the doctor or whoever to see your healthcare issues, but you don't want the financial people to see them. So there should be appropriate masking in place in your system, so that least privilege, that people can see what they should see and not necessarily see stuff that they don't need to see, and that could be personally identifiable information as well. So data masking as appropriate to your organization, and a policy-specific one, and implementation of that data masking. And you may have tools in place for doing that as well. You may need to encrypt them. There may be obfuscation. Again, I've talked about minimum data to the user, just to supply people what they need to see, not more. And specifically in the regulatory payment card industry, you don't need to see all the person's payment details or their card details in that as well. And 27018 again gives more details on that. A12, data leakage prevention. Data leakage prevention measures shall be applied to systems, networks, and any other devices that process, store, or transmit sensitive information. Well, we need a specific policy on this as well. Unauthorized disclosure and extraction. I suppose this will depend on how you've classified the information in your system. But you'll have already have done that in the old, I don't know what I can't remember what the new control is. A8 was the A81, something was the old control. So you've classified the data. You may have different levels of classification, 1, 2, 3, and some companies have 1, 2, 3, and 4. So you monitor the channels. Are people sending out classified information? You may need, depending on the organisation and the risks associated with the classification of data, you may need to have email controls in place that monitor if class 1 priority 1 or information is being sent out through your email system. Somebody in your organisation is sending out that email, or if they're sending out, there are tools available. If you're sending out personally identifiable information, does your email pick it up and monitor is that an adequate email, or is that a person approved to send out personally identifiable information or commercially sensitive information? So the expectation is you'll be using tools as appropriate to the risks in your organization. There are lots of data leakage prevention tools available out there, but it's up to you to determine what the risks associated with using those tools, and hopefully they're introduced using your change management process. Control A16, monitoring activities. Network systems and applications shall be monitored for anomalous behavior and appropriate actions taken to evaluate potential information security incidents. So what monitoring tools are you using in the system? Your outbound, again, similar to the previous one, outbound and inbound traffic. If people are accessing or trying to access files they shouldn't be accessing, or have access files they don't need to access, does your monitoring tools tell you that? The focus here will be on if you have admin access rights, because often a person can, because they are the administrator, they can cover up their access or delete the logs or try and delete the logs. So your tools should address specifically people that have admin access rights. You may only have 2 people in your organization with admin access rights, or you may have 10 or 20 or 30 people with admin access rights, depending on the size of your organization and the number of tools you have in place. So we expect that to be monitored. Logs from security tools, these should be available and retained. Is somebody looking at these logs? Who reviews those logs? Is the tool reviewing the logs? But you should, baseline what is normal behavior depending on the tool they're using, how the tool has been configured. You don't expect Johnny to be accessing the records at 7 o'clock in the evening, or maybe you do. And if he does, that should show up as anomalous behavior, or they're sending out a lot of commercially sensitive records on their emails. And so your tools should pick that up. And so the bottom part is, are you responding to those alerts that your monitoring tools are telling you? Or are the alerts still open? If they're a high level alerts, are they still open 2 or 3 weeks later when they should have been addressed within the hour? Priority 2 alerts, maybe you'd say address them within the day. Are you monitoring what your tools are telling you about what's going on in your system? And is somebody allocated to do that and to close out those indicators of where things are not happening as per your control policy in the system? AA23, new wording in the standard, web filtering, they've addressed that specifically. Access to external websites shall be managed to reduce exposure to malicious content. So the expectation is you are web filtering, and people shouldn't be accessing sites that your organization don't allow. Again, the risk associated with that. And if you are allowing people to access websites, then there should be training applicable to those personnel, telling them if you are accessing websites, you should check that it's a secure website. All of those areas which should be detailed in your policies, if you are allowing them to access websites, what they should be careful with, so that they can say we weren't trained on, if we're accessing websites, what we should do. So there should be a policy on that in your organization, and people should know about it, and they should be made aware of it. Training, rules for safe, and those policies should indicate safe and appropriate use of websites. AA28, secure coding. Secure coding principles shall be applied to software development. For those of you who develop software, that should be a given. You may use your own principles, or you may use outsourced ones. The configuration development tools that people use, often they give the guidance to people and personnel, so make people aware of what that guidance is for secure coding. And there's an example of secure programming techniques here. We get peer review, pair programming, refactoring, which you probably not really that secure, and test-driven development. So those are examples of secure programming techniques. So that if some people that have joined the organization, that a senior coder will review their code and verify yes, they are following our coding rules, they are doing secure coding, and it is okay. So typically your development tools will address that to determine and will show that the coding has been reviewed by somebody, or has been reviewed by a peer, or has been reviewed by quality, to determine if the coding principles have been applied in the organization. There is a whole ISO IEC 15408 series of standards, -1, -2, -3 and more, dedicated to secure coding. So there's lots of information in that again, about how you implement secure coding and what to do in that respect. There are 34 merged controls, 9, and these are the merged controls. You'll be familiar, the wording has changed, user endpoint devices, and that would have been addressed previously in A621, A1128. You know, are you monitoring, what tools have you in place for monitoring the security of your endpoints? The management of technical vulnerabilities, that's still there, who again is quite a similar thread to the other ones. Who is addressing the alerts? Are they being closed out? You're using the tools, but are they appropriate? And is there evidence of closure of those technical vulnerabilities? The logging, again, are logs available? Specifically for admin right logging, is that kept and retained? And all of those logging issues are still there. They just changed the wording on the controls to bring it up to date with what the current wording is for people in organizations. Installation of software and operation system, your deployment, policies and procedures if you have a deployment. Use of cryptography is combined. Application security requirements were always there, just new wording and new controls. A29, security testing and development and acceptance. That was the, you know, when we're looking at, again, software development, companies need to pay attention to that. It was there in the previous version of the annex, and it's just combined into A29. You know, testing that applies. Your tools probably address that they've been adequately tested, and you've records of testing and who has done the testing and how the bugs are addressed. And separation of development test and production environments, that's and 2 old ones combined into one. And A32 is change management, and that was divided up into four controls previously, where they had change management, you know, for introducing new systems in their organization, and then we had change management in the design process as well. So it's just one control there that just is the same, but it just addresses across all of your systems. So we're still expecting you know, you have to manage change, you have change logs, the impacts of changes, are they adequately tested, and all of those are still in place. No main change there. It's just different orientation in the annex, and those controls haven't been lost. They are still retained. Okay, the impact of the changes to you. There is a new Annex A, 91 controls or thereabouts. So just the main standard hasn't changed. The requirements section of the standard hasn't been any significant changes, and all the changes that are important to you are all in Annex A. We'll be accepting registrations to the old standard up to November 2023. Beyond that, we won't be accepting applications for the old version of the standard. And all new accredited from the 31st of October will be to 2022. And all your current certs, if you're going through a reassessment in the next couple of weeks or next couple of months, and you're due to the old version of the standard, to the 2017 version of the standard, your certs will all expire on the 31st of October 2025, because that's when that standard is taken off. It's no longer, the 2017 version is no longer valid. So if you don't move up to the new version standard, your existing certs will expire on the 31st of October 2025. So there's a 2-year, well, it's 3 years now, 3-year transition period applicable there. All of you here are either are in the process of registration or registered. So the expectation is you review your statement of applicability and update with the new requirements. We need to see a new statement of applicability in place there, and identify the changes, go through what those new controls are. There's not that many. Update your SOA with respect to those new controls, and have all of the new nomenclature for the Annex A in your existing SOA. So there's a good bit of work involved in doing that. We have to reference the SOA on the certificate that we give you. You know, it's in accordance with SOA version 1 or issue 10 or whatever version you assign to that SOA. You may have to do new work on implementing the new changes. The expectation is that you will do that. and you may have to update your risk assessment or your risk treatment planning and justify if you're not including those new controls, why are you not including those new controls, or the reason for not including them. Okay, gap analysis. We expect to see a gap analysis in place, as well as the need for changes to the client's information security management system. Update the statement of applicability, update the risk treatment plan, and add the control. If you have implemented those controls, there's evidence that you've verified that they are effective and that they are working for you, and that the tools are there, and that people are responding to the alerts, that whatever the tools are changing them, and those policies, people are aware of what the new policies are. And so effective implementation, that's what we'll be looking for at an upgrade. Certification accreditation body, that's NSAI. We can do the transition policy remotely if we ensure that the transition audit objective is met. And I suppose the news is we have to add on a minimum of 0.5 auditor days to confirm the transition of the certified clients when the transition is done during a surveillance audit or as a separate audit. I recommend that you do the transition upwards at a reassessment audit, and therefore there will be no addition of time if the upgrade is conducted at a reassessment audit. However, it's your choice. If you want to do it at another audit, we are mandatory, or accreditation people force us to add on an extra half day onto the audit if you want to upgrade at a surveillance. Again, if you want to do it, if you want to avoid the extra half day, do it at a reassessment audit. Again, I'm referring you to the guidance, ISO 27002. It's about 130 page document. It's available from our standard sales as well. And that gives you guidance for the implementation of all of the controls in Annex A, if you have that. So, and more good bedside reading for you, 120 pages, detailing what policy and what the expectation is. Our transition policy that I've gone through there is available on our website if you want to read through it again. And Stuart talked about the self-assessment tool for the assessment tool for the 22 version will be up in the coming days. It's going through final approval at the moment.
Is available now, is it?
No, it's the 2017 version is available on the website now. We're just making some final changes to the 2022 version on the website, and it'll be up in the coming days. It's just a few small changes being made to it, but it will be available in the coming days. It's ready to go, but it's not just up on the website as of yet. But with the dot the i's and cross the t's, the 2017 version is already up there if you want to use that for a new registration. But the 22 one will be up in the coming days. That's why I put it in yellow, just to remind me that it's not fully up on the website yet.
Just need to go in.
It'll be up by next week, in the next week. Again, I just took the first page from the ISO 27002, and that's just additional information. We have a printout, I think, Neil, you arranged a printout of other standards that are referenced. There's about 100 standards referenced in 27002, and this is just the first page of them for more information that you can access, or websites you can access if you're really into this in a big way. But there is lots of support. Just to let you know, there are lots of support standards out there. About 100 of them or so that are referenced in the 27002. I haven't accessed all of them either, so it's but they are available and there for you. And say there is one particular for people in the healthcare industry, 27799, I think it was, Cormac, wasn't it? If I can remember the number properly. But you know, if you're operating in the healthcare industry, you need to. I would recommend that you look at that. Because there are specific requirements for health informatics and for companies that operate in the healthcare industry. It gives you ethics controls, all of those areas that are not addressed in the guts of the standard. But the expectation is that one specific to the healthcare industry is addressed if your organisation is in the healthcare industry. I hope that was a short overview, guys. If you have any questions, we've taken. But thank you all very much.